What's good, everybody? It's Goldpepper30 here, and welcome back to the finale of ranking every single Godzilla film. We went through the Showa era, the Heisei era, and even the Millennium era, and now we're on to the MONSTERVERSE era. Yep, whole 10 years of Godzilla films. That's just crazy for me to think about, that it's been nearly 10 years since Godzilla 2014. Absolutely nuts. But we're here to talk about every single Godzilla film ever made in this era. And tomorrow, hopefully as of this recording, tomorrow I'll have a review ready to go for Godzilla and Kong, The New Empire. So if you're new here, make sure to hit that like, subscribe button, and comment down below what's your favorite REIWA or MONSTERVERSE era film. Is it -1? Is it Godzilla King of the Monsters? Is it 2014? Let me know in the comments. And let's get this video started with the one that started it all. Now, as a young Godzilla fan on the internet, the only websites that I would know about or be able to log into were Toho Kingdom and Barry's Temple of Godzilla. Back in the day, that was the only way to get any sort of Godzilla news coming out back in the mid-2000s. I remember going online when Godzilla Unleashed was barely announced. Toho Kingdom would make a character list and have percentages on them to show which kaiju was likely to appear in the game. I remember for the longest time that Godzilla 90s and 54 were a sub 10% for the entire time, until a week before launch, when all of a sudden they jumped to 80% and 75%. I was shocked and really excited to see them both return as secret characters. The point of this little trip down memory lane is that back in the day, finding out rumors and news about actual Godzilla movies coming out was really tough, especially when you would see fan-made stuff like Godzilla vs. Gamera and failed projects like Godzilla 3D to the Max. That one I thought for sure was going to happen. Sorry, Desadora. Little did 11-year-old me know that with Godzilla 3D being cancelled, it was a catalyst for a Godzilla revival, as without Yoshimitsu Banno, we probably wouldn't have a MONSTERVERSE in the first place. Hearing rumors and speculations about Legendary acquiring the rights to make their own Godzilla movie, and reading news from GodzillaMovies.com made me so excited to see an American revival of Godzilla, as 1998 left a sour taste in everyone's mouth. This image right here, when the 2012 Comic-Con teaser was first released, had me so pumped up. Those 2 years of waiting patiently were aggravating. Yeah, 2 years is a long time, but you gotta imagine that for a while it really felt like the finale of Godzilla with Godzilla Final Wars, and I missed my opportunity as a new fan to watch new Godzilla content, outside the Pipeworks games of course. So I remember immediately leaving high school with my cousin and brother, and my parents driving me to the AMC theaters in a sold-out 5 o'clock showing to witness my first Godzilla movie in the big screen finally. The first half of the movie felt like a thrill ride, and the feeling of euphoria seeing Godzilla for the first time when he made landfall in Hawaii was an experience I would never forget. Finally, I can watch a Godzilla fight on the big screen. Then they cut away. Oh, okay, that's fine. Next time they'll show the fight. I mean, they show Godzilla destroy the Golden Gate Bridge. Now is the time to get the crowd yelling like we're watching a wrestling match. And they cut away again. Okay, Gareth, what are we doing here? I get with monsters you could do this as he didn't have the budget for that movie, but even with the scenes of the monsters in that movie, they're all really well done. And to take that approach with this Godzilla movie felt like the wrong approach to make. Don't get me wrong, I still love this movie. It's the reason why we have a Godzilla resurgence in the first place. But you need to know when, how to balance the monster fights and the human scenes. And I felt he dipped too much into the human scenes, especially when Quicksilver is alright as a main character named Ford Brody. I mean, do I even need to say how phenomenal Bryan Cranston was in this movie? He was the star of the show, and his speech about the Muto sending us back to the Stone Age was spectacular. Why was he killed off so early? It feels like he could have been one of the main leads for Monarch, and even appearing in cameos from time to time, especially with the future movies that we were going to get. I mean, killing off Bryan Cranston just felt wrong in my opinion. And him dying early on into the movie dampens the human scenes by quite a big margin. That being said, once we got the monster fights, they are good. It's just we had to wait a very long time to get to that moment. It feels like some scenes could have been cut. It would have helped out the pace of the movie tremendously. Godzilla design is amazing, and I'm glad they took their time on the design and it feels like Godzilla, something that every fan can at least agree on. Although I do have my gripes with this film, I still enjoyed it. It's going right into B tier. We would have to wait 5 years for the next MONSTERVERSE film, but for now, with Godzilla returning to the mainstream, what will Toho deliver to us that can be different from the American version? And here we have Toho's first Godzilla movie in nearly 12 years with Shin Godzilla. And before we get started, let's just make one thing clear. Shin Godzilla, although at first I really didn't like the design as I thought it looked a bit too horrific, I have grown into completely loving it, especially when I watched the movie for the first time. Shin Godzilla is an amazing film. The first teaser trailer released for Shin Godzilla was something that blew my mind when I was about to graduate high school. Godzilla looks so different from what I had initially anticipated, and his design, although at first I wasn't a big fan of it, over time it grew on me, and then watching the movie I immediately did a 180 and considered it a great design. Shin Godzilla was not only acclaimed by Godzilla fans, but was also critically acclaimed and even won Best Picture at the 40th Japanese Academy Film Prize, something that will happen again with another REIWA film releasing very soon. The themes of this movie share a similarity with 1954, as the original was meant to be a metaphor for nuclear fallout and the dangers of atomic testing. Shin Godzilla pulls from the tragedies of the 2011 Fukushima disaster and the 2011 earthquake and tsunami that left over 18,000 people dead. The movie does have long shots of the government officials moving from area to area, which, as a dumb American viewer, well, I was really confused at first, but upon reading that this is how the government actually plays out, it really hammers down the message of the government being too incompetent to handle major disasters, as sadly shown with the real-life disaster and how it affects so many Japanese citizens even to this day. Another great aspect of Shin Godzilla is its music. Shiro Sagisu does a phenomenal job of blending both the Showa-era classics created by Ifukube to create new music emphasizing the constant agony and pain that Godzilla is going through by constantly evolving and mutating throughout the movie. Especially the track Who Will Know, when you listen to the lyrics, it's very haunting. Director Hideki Anno of Evangelion fame creates a Godzilla that stands out from the normal Godzilla designs we get, but still stays true to its roots and makes for a sense of dread every time Godzilla is on screen. One of my favorites from the REIWA era. We are finally here, on the part I was dreading the most. I really put myself through watching these movies again. I really sat down, turned on my TV, pulled up Netflix to watch the Godzilla anime trilogy. And for what it's worth, it's worse than I remember. Alright, quickly, let's go through these movies. The first one, stunk. Really bad, really boring. Cool, they killed the Godzilla, but that wasn't even Godzilla's final form. You killed Godzilla's baby, and it turned into the real Godzilla, Godzilla Earth. Godzilla Earth's design is just not for me. Get it? Some people love it. It's just not for me. It looks goofy. I don't care. It's fine. Mechagodzilla City. The best, but it's not by like a wide margin. It's like, okay, cool, you have awful, and here's below average. It's probably the best one out of all of them. And the King Ghidorah one, oh my goodness, oh my god, this movie, oh my god, this movie. If there's one good thing they did, is that King Ghidorah in this movie is actually kind of cool. Him being a god is amazing, like an actual god, like an omnipresent being that you can't attack. It's actually pretty cool. It's just everything else in that movie, especially the ending, is just terrible. Those scenes are burnt into my eyes and can never forget them. Just, what were they thinking? The Netflix trilogy is just so bad, so horrendous, that I would just not recommend watching them. If anything, sure, watch the second one and maybe some parts of it with King Ghidorah in the third one. That's it. Everything else is just awful. And these are going in the bottom of F tier. The only saving one is the D tier with Mechagodzilla City. And even then, I don't like Mechagodzilla City. It's not even Mechagodzilla. Like, what the heck is happening here? just abysmal. Please no more Netflix Godzillas. Please. Now, for some reason, this tier list doesn't have Kong Skull Island on it. I get it's just only Godzilla movies, but Skull Island is a major part of the MONSTERVERSE. So, before I talk about King of the Monsters, I'm going to give my summary of where I put Kong on the tier list. Kong Skull Island is an absolute blast, with Samuel L. Jackson stealing the show as the villain. His presence is just great, and you can tell he's having fun playing the crazed colonel. Also, Kong is great in this film. Instead of being a fool for white women, he's instead more of a protector, and the movie really shines when showing Kong interact with the main characters. I'd put the movie in A tier. I loved it. Now we can get on with Godzilla King of the Monsters, and what can I say about Godzilla King of the Monsters? The music by Bear McCreary is the best of the MONSTERVERSE era, and other movies from this era kind of struggle with their music, as so far no one can compare to Bear's work on King of the Monsters. We need him back as soon as possible. I can see the problems with this movie. It's too dark, the monsters fight at night and never in the light. I understand that, and the characters are kind of cheesy, except for Ken Watanabe, who was good in 2014, but really shines in this movie. The new designs for Ghidorah, Rodan, and Mothra are some of my favorites in the franchise, and I dare say, this may be controversial, I don't know, but this may be the best Rodan design we've ever had. The balance of nature is truly out of whack, especially when Ghidorah gains control of the other Titans and they start wreaking havoc. Except for Kong, who ignored Ghidorah's call. That was the answer that was given, right? That's the actual headcanon answer? It's not a headcanon made up by mine, right? The finale to this movie is just incredible. Godzilla going critical mass when absorbing Mothra's powers when she sacrifices herself to save Godzilla, and it isn't burning Godzilla, it's Godzilla going into critical mass, just like in Godzilla Unleashed. I mean, they look so familiar, that's all I thought about during the scene. I, for one, can never hate this movie. This is a movie I always wanted as a kid growing up, having Godzilla and the other classic monsters being displayed with a major Hollywood budget. This movie, bar for bar, flow for flow, is basically how I wanted my own Godzilla movie to be made. So although I could see the negatives for this movie, the positives just simply outweigh the bad. Godzilla King of the Monsters is going directly into A tier. Yes, I know I'm biased. Sue me. Comment down below what your favorite MONSTERVERSE era film is. Is it 2014? Is it King of the Monsters? Is it perhaps Godzilla vs. Kong? Or be the new sequel that hasn't been out yet as I'm recording this video? So comment down below what you think. Yes, I am biased, but also we need Bear McCreary back ASAP for the next Godzilla film. Give him blank check, Legendary. What are you thinking? Just give him a blank check and everything will be good. The MONSTERVERSE has been building up to this. Godzilla vs. Kong, the ultimate fight between two apex predators. Only one can reign supreme as the true King of the Monsters, and this movie will finally answer who would win between King Kong and Godzilla. Director Adam Wingard finally gave us an answer, and the victor of Godzilla and King Kong's colossal battle was... You'll have to see the movie to figure that one out. Yep, I ain't spoiling anything, as it's still relatively new, and with the impending sequel releasing today for me, I'm currently heading out to watch it before the Friday release in IMAX. So, for Godzilla vs. Kong, although the characters don't really stand out from each other, the main star of the movie is Kong. His turmoil in battling Godzilla, leaving his home to find the Hollow Earth, and his relationship with Gia, a deaf girl who communicates with Kong played by Kaylee Huddle, were the standout moments of the film. The battles between Godzilla and Kong are worth the price of admission, and although the story is forgettable and the villain's reasonings for finding the Hollow Earth do make sense, as he wants to return humanity to the top of the food chain, as with the Titans now emerging and running around, as now humanity is back down the totem pole and they create their own super weapon to take care of both Kong and Godzilla. The movie, although having a lot of problems, still had me on the edge of my seat whenever Godzilla and Kong finally came face to face. Although not on the same level as King Kong vs. Godzilla, there's still some enjoyment you can find with this movie, as this one is going right into C tier. Ironically enough, without this movie and having a good financial success in the box office, we probably wouldn't have a sequel to this movie or even have more MONSTERVERSE era films, as sadly, Godzilla King of the Monsters bombed. Like, why would you let this film flop, people? This is the movie we all wanted, right? Why would you let it flop? I will never forgive anyone who didn't watch Godzilla King of the Monsters. With the Netflix Godzilla trilogy breaking what little faith I had in any anime variation of Godzilla, I'm not gonna lie, I was super hesitant when it came to this show. Those Netflix movies set my standards so low that anything with a non-confusing story will keep my attention throughout the show. For the most part, I enjoyed the show. Although the plot was a bit confusing, I enjoyed the sections with Jaguar beating up Anguirus and Rodan, although this may be controversial, but I didn't care for Godzilla in the show whatsoever. Godzilla, to me, felt like they were attempting to recreate what made Shin Godzilla so unique, and to me, it just fell flat, and you don't get the good version of Godzilla Ultima until the very end, when he's defeated by an upgraded Iron Giant. I mean Jaguar. The show itself can be a bit confusing, but overall, it was a massive improvement over the Netflix movies. Although seeing a kaiju that resembled Gamera almost made me put this whole show into F tier, it goes right into C tier. A bit confusing, but if you're a fan of Jaguar, this show is actually great. Another recent addition to the MONSTERVERSE is the Apple Plus exclusive TV show Monarch: Legacy of Monsters, airing in 2023, starring Kurt and Wyatt Russell, Anna Sawai, Kiersey Clemens, and Ren Watabe. The show is set both in the 50s with the introduction of Monarch and how it got started, and in 2015, a year after Godzilla's attack on San Francisco. This leaves our main character, Kate Randa, on the search for her dad when he mysteriously abandons his family after events in 2014 to discover a mystery that could lead to the destruction of all mankind. Or save mankind. Won't know till we find out the truth of what's really going on with Monarch. I like the characters in this show, especially the scenes in the past with the young Lee Shaw, played by Wyatt Russell. It's actually funny to see how Kurt's son plays his younger counterpart. It makes so much sense when you think about it. Why can't other movies do that? Sarcasm aside, if you're going into this show expecting to see Godzilla all the time, that's not the point of the show at all. The whole point is that it revolves around Monarch in the events between 2014 and King of the Monsters, so keep that in mind if you want to give this show a chance. The other monsters in this show are fine, and the season finale keeps us guessing for a potential new season leading with another apex predator. This show is going under A tier. I really enjoy the characters and the plot. If you know a way to watch this series, I would highly recommend the show, as it's a nice world building show for the events leading up to both Godzilla and Kong, Godzilla King of the Monsters, and even Godzilla and Kong, The New Empire. The final movie before Godzilla and Kong: The New Empire releases, we have Godzilla -1. Now, like with Godzilla vs. Kong, I'm going to try my hardest to not spoil this movie, as this movie has recently come out and hasn't been released on Blu-ray or any streaming services as of recording this video. So I'm going to go completely spoiler free for this section. All good? Alright, let's talk about the greatest Godzilla movie ever made. Yes, you heard me right. In my opinion, Godzilla -1 is the greatest Godzilla movie I have ever seen, and one of the best films of 2023. The amount of critical acclaim it has received from not only Godzilla fans, but the general public as well, honestly blew me away. Seeing multiple people talk about this movie, not as a dumb, cheesy Godzilla movie, but instead as a work of art worthy of winning an Academy Award. If you had told me decades ago that any Godzilla movie would garner this much praise, I would never believe you and thought it was just some sick joke. Godzilla -1 is everything perfect about the franchise, turned up to 11. Godzilla is back as he returns to his 1954 roots as a creature bent on destruction. His design is probably one of my top 5 Godzilla designs of all time. There aren't enough words in the dictionary that can describe just how perfect Godzilla design in this movie is. Not only is Godzilla perfect in this movie, but the cast of characters is amazing. It tells a story of wanting to keep moving forward, despite all the obstacles and even guilt that lay in the past and now being set in the present. The whole social commentary about the guilt and shame of Japan's actions during World War II, and even the main character's mistakes at the beginning of the film, shine through here, and near the end, the message about driving to preserve the future and the ending sequence with Godzilla will have you stunned. The whole sold-out theater I was watching the movie in was literally dead silent. That's how impactful the finale was. Director Takashi Yamazaki nailed every detail in this movie. This is going number 1 as my favorite Godzilla movie ever made. I can't wait to watch it when it comes out on home video, and I hope you recommend watching it too. This is one of the best Godzilla films I have ever seen. And there we have it. Every single Godzilla movie ranked from 1954 to -1. I hope you all enjoyed, and I hope you comment down below what's your favorite Godzilla film. Is it Godzilla -1? Is it the original? Is it Son of Godzilla? Let me know, and I'll catch everybody for the next video. Later, everybody.